At the time that we started the AIDA trial, you know, the ABSORB BRS had been commercialized. It had CE mark approval, and we were all encouraged to use it in more and more complex patient population. But we felt that we didn't have enough data actually to know for sure that it was safe and efficacious in an all-comers daily clinical practice population. So we thought that the only reasonable thing to do was to randomize patients between ABSORB BRS and a current standard of care workhorse metallic stent Xience in an all-comers population in a large trial. And so that's what we did in the Netherlands with 5 other centers. Yeah, of course. So, you know, I think it's very important, and we are realizing it now, to follow the ABSORB patients long term, probably even beyond 3 years to 5 and 10 years, to see when this worrisome signal of stent thrombosis is finally going to drop off, and when are we finally going to see any clinical benefit of this new device. And so at 3 years is the time point when you would expect the device to have disappeared. The 3 years is also now the recommended time that we've put patients on DAPT. And so we see that while the curves for overall TVF overlap actually, especially by the landmark analysis, the events continue to accrue in both Xience and ABSORB. That's still, but the results are pretty much good for both devices. For the stent thrombosis, unfortunately, you continue to accrue events in ABSORB and not really in Xience. So the curves still, with landmark analysis, keep on spreading. And we have now about 60% of the patients followed at 4 years already. And there we see already 4 events, stent thrombosis or scaffold thrombosis events in the ABSORB arm. So that's a little bit difficult to explain. Are the ABSORB remnants still there? What's going on? Does that have to do with the patient with the DAPT? And so I think it's going to be even more interesting to see the data next year and at 5 years with really dissecting out carefully the DAPT regimens that they were on and what kind of patients these were. I think it can be achieved. I think we've learned a lot from this process. You can restore the confidence by producing new devices that certainly are thinner strutted, but at the same time have good radial strength, and being very careful with how you do the studies and how you implement the devices in clinical practice. So really be sure that you've done a randomized trial and that you've had the long-term results before you throw it into the commercialization process. I think that's how you can gain the confidence of the physician. Absolutely, I think it does. You know, we've been through this process before in interventional cardiology. I mean, obviously, bare metal stents at the beginning without DAPT had a problem of stent thrombosis. So did the Cypher stents and Taxus stents at the beginning. So I think this is to overcome with the second generation better technology. And, you know, of course, this concept of leaving nothing behind, no metal cage, and is still attractive. We just need to make it happen, and we need to prove it.